Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. And in this video, we're going to talk about a very important topic that I bet is a question for a lot of us who are either just coming out of college or we are kind of trying to start a business, we're trying to make an investment decision, we're trying to borrow that money or get that loan for any reason. All right, now it can be because we like it, because we like that car, because we believe we deserve it, because we know now after grinding for so many years, we want to finally pull the trigger on that car, and now we are borrowing money. Or when it comes to the house, because me and my fiance are trying to go in there and start a life, or it's for an investment property or for any other matter because you're trying to start your business or etc etc. Unfortunately, when it comes to borrowing money, there's always these two camps. One all the way to the right, where you have Dave Ramsey and more conservative side of people that are telling you, hey, you should not borrow money under any circumstances and try to avoid it as much as you can. Because borrowing money is coming with all the strings that are attached to it and will bring you nothing but a limitation to your life. Now, you cannot have the freedoms that you had before, and worse come worse, you have to kind of deal with the uncertainty that exists with any of us and in any of our lives, and it can put you at heavily disadvantage in compared to you just not having that loan in your life, which gives you a lot more freedom, a lot more wiggle room, and that's what's important in life. Now, on the left, or on the other camp, we have all these influencers, which recently they've been basically taking over YouTube, and they're telling you that, hey, if I would go back in my 20s, the first thing I would do, even if I had like $25,000, if I had $10,000, if I had $15,000, or very little amount of money, I would immediately apply for an FHA loan, put as little as 3% down, get that property or get that duplex, and then rent the other half of it, or start using it or utilizing it not only as my house or as my primary resident, but also start using all the advantages that comes with having your own business and trying to use those write-offs. So I would definitely put myself in debt basically and borrow that money, because at the end these properties will go up in value. So you see how these two camps are very different. One is telling you, hey, absolutely, just borrow that money, because no matter what, the houses are going to go up in value, because no matter what, the dollar is going to be devalued, and whatever you're purchasing with it is going to ultimately go up in value and become more expensive in future. So you're kind of not losing anything. But then on the other hand, we are talking about a more conservative side that are telling you, hey, look at all the limitations that comes with it and all the uncertainties that are in a human's life. So are you in a position? That's where the whole emergency fund and everything else that Dave Ramsey kind of comes into the place. Are you in a place that comfortably can say, I can pay back my loans, I can make all those payments if something comes up? And they even put into all these extreme situations in the equation as well. For example, those who are trying to purchase a home half and half with their fiance or with somebody that they're not married to, and kind of they advise them out of this whole thing. All right, but what is the right thing really for you to make? And the reason that I put that thumbnail in this video, and the reason that I'm kind of talking about both sides, it's because this video is not going to be like these other videos that are out there, where basically they are talking to you about the whole math side of this, borrowing money or not. All right, hey, what is the interest rate? And then how much you're trying to get, how much you're putting as a down payment. Okay, so where are you trying to put that money in? Does that make sense? Does that not make sense? How much is the return? And all of that. However, in this video, I want to talk to you about, the individuality perspective of it, the personality perspective of it. Because again, all this information about how to do the math, it already exists in the internet, in YouTube. However, as someone that I had to go through this whole situation when my mom passed away and I became the head of the household, when I had to kind of make all these big boy decisions, right? For me, for my younger brother, and for my father, and for the whole household, basically. Or in addition, when in 2020 I wanted to start my own business, and now I had to use some of my savings, some of my family's savings, and borrow some amount of money. Did they all make sense? Should I have listened to the right or to the left side of this conversation? And that's the reason that this video is not really a financial advice. It's really based on my experience as this young college kid that was trying to start his own business, that was trying to manage his family to the best of his abilities, and never had those experiences. Because a lot of us will think that, hey, we do have these experiences because we have borrowed money. Look at our student loans. But are they? Because with student loans, you have a lot more freedom. Especially like with the whole thing that the Biden administration tried to put out, with canceling some of them, which was not really successful, but also coming up with all these different plans that will minimize the payments, but then you have to pay it for a longer amount of time. Did we really get that experience that we're supposed to in compared to all these other loans that we are aiming for, or we have to aim for at some point in our life when it comes to housing, when it comes to purchasing a car, or when it comes to opening up our business, or any other matter really? Because in my opinion, and what I had struggled with, is that these two are not the same. Because with student loans, you just click a button, boom, it's in your account. You haven't really provided that much information. Yes, you provided some information to FAFSA, but have you really worked hard in order to become qualified? Have you really had to make all those payments right after you borrowed the money and had the opportunity to invest it into different markets that will go up or down, which means you lost money or you gained money, to be able to answer those questions kind of comfortably and say, hey, it makes sense for me to borrow money again. And I think the answer to that is no, because student loans is just a different category versus when it comes to all these different matters that we're trying to get qualified or borrow money for. These are just like so different. So what did I learn from going through the whole process again as a head of a household, as somebody who was trying to start his own business? And it's really comes down to little factors. And it's very much like black and white, all right? Whatever I'm going to talk about in these 2 or 3 steps, it's really black and white. So you have to be as honest as you possibly can be with yourself in order to not hurt yourself, all right? And kind of this video makes sense for you. So A is the personality. It's the history. It's the individuality of you that are trying to aim at it, that are trying to go for this amount of loan, that are trying to go for this amount of money. Have you been a responsible person? Meaning, did you endure the difficulties in life because you were responsible for something that was coming up? In this case, it will be the payments. In case it will be you borrowing this amount of money and paying a lot more back, putting a lot more limitation in your life. For what? Did you calculate everything? Like, for example, when it came to high school, did you go through those difficulties because you wanted to go to a better college, because a better university will put you at a little bit, even a little advantage in compared to all those other applicants that are applying for? Was that kind of the mindset? Did you put in the work? Or no, it wasn't? Or was it? And how was the turnout of it? What was the conclusion, or what was the result of it? Did you stick with the plan? All right, so that's really where I was kind of contemplating. when it comes to answering this question, that how was my interaction with money, with being a responsible person, paying back this amount, and know that after all, if I'm borrowing that money for my business, for my family, can I double it? Is it going to be beneficial for us? Whatever I'm purchasing with it or for it, will it double in value or at least be more profitable when I'm trying to sell it or not? Which gets me to the second question that I was asking myself, or the category or the realization that I got out of it, which was, I kind of hint on it on the other video as well, with the money and inflation, and it's, do I know, am I comfortable enough with the category, with the place that I'm trying to invest this money in? Do I have enough information? And it's not just based on watching 4 or 5 YouTube videos. Do I really think I can make some profit out of this? Because after all, I'm borrowing money. After all, I'm putting all this limitation, all these extra stresses. I'm taking more money out of my pocket because I'm paying interest on these loans that I'm approving or applying for, and putting it in someone else's pocket so they can have fun. They can feel good because they're making a little bit of interest or extra money on the money that they're borrowing me or giving it to me. Am I gonna have a good enough return? And do I know the market that I'm going in it very well? Alright, so these were the 2 very important questions that I kind of asked myself, that I kind of went back on the history of who is this individual and how he's been performing. Now I get it. When we're in our 20s, when we are graduating from, high school, even college, a lot of things can happen that we become just a different person and a different individual, that now all of a sudden we are more responsible, that now we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we're going to do anything and everything in our power in order to make that thing happen. But also, what has been happening in our life and how we've been performing can indicate of where we're trying to go with this money that we are borrowing it. And then the third factor, it's really that math game, that mental game, right? Am I going through the whole stress, putting money into someone else's pocket for a good reason or not? Because even if that car that I'm purchasing, that everybody is so against of, right? That new BMW or anything that is, every time that I'm going to sit on it, will it give me that taste, that experience that I'm after? Every time, not just the first year or 2. Will I feel better using that car in compared to something else? How would I look at that car? Does that car or cars important in my life or not? Do I care about the engineering or not? Because if I do, and that engineering is important to me, and I appreciate that even a little bit, in compared to these average people that just look at vehicles from as something to get them from point A to point B, then maybe that is worth it for me. If I'm not doing it, if I'm sacrificing driving a less enjoyable car, a lower model, something that is not as flashy, something that is not bringing me as much respect or reputation that I'm after, then where am I putting that money? And wherever I'm putting that extra money, that I'm not paying an interest, that I'm not paying an insurance, that I'm not paying on all those extra factors that somebody who is borrowing money is going through, is that going to be worth it? Is my money going to be doubled? Basically, am I getting the same value out of it? So these were the 3 main questions that I've answered before aiming at getting myself into debt and borrowing money, which at this point I have very little debt, and I'm keeping it because it is building my credit. And again, it's my student loan debt, and I'm happy with it. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful to you, because I wish somebody would have mentioned all these factors, all these questions, when I was trying to borrow money and I could find such video online. Thank you again for watching, and until the next video, peace.